It's the intel about the next generation of Bulldogs. This is Before the Hedges, brought to you by Kroger.
Let's go, I'm a Bulldog.
Welcome in to Before the Hedges. I am not Kaylee Mansell. I'm Cody Chaffins filling in for Kaylee this week. Kaylee is up at the Combine. I'm not sure what her 40 time was going to be up there. She's going to do the shuttle, I'm not sure, but she is up there giving us great coverage on DawgNation. So I'm sitting in her seat this week, as always, with Jeff Sentell, and Jeff's just telling me the dead period is almost like when you hear spring's coming, you get that little taste of warm weather. Yeah. The dead period in recruiting, almost over.
I would say this, the college football recruiter, he always sees his shadow in the 1st of February because that means recruiting season is coming up in 6 weeks. Cody, it's kind of crazy to think about, but I have prospects telling me that they can't wait to get into Georgia in March. Of course, that's going to coincide with Georgia's 15 days of spring practices so they can be around Georgia and everything else. But after a brief respite, you've got things going full bore again just about in a matter of a week or so.
Yeah, and we got the news that there's going to be a G-Day, so that'll be another big time for all these guys to get on campus. But excited to start getting this thing going again, getting some more reactions to what it's like in Athens. But we actually did have a big-time recruit in the state of Georgia this week, just not visiting in Athens, at least that we know about. We're going to share that with you on the show. Got a huge show coming up for you today. Yes, Kemon Spell, he was in Georgia this week. We will show you what he was up to. Let's also talk about some of the quarterback options for 2027. And does that include the 5-star Jayden Wade, who is technically right now a 2028, or does it not? And if not, where do the Dogs pivot from there? We'll talk about that. And then the PA to GA movement. Jeff will explain all of that. And, of course, we'll end it all with our class breakdown. But as we start things off, let's start with a 5-star quarterback, why don't we? Jayden Wade is the 5-star commitment that Georgia has in the class of 2028. There's been a lot of speculation that the IMG quarterback who could be reclassifying to 2027. Jeff, what is the latest on that possibility?
Yeah, I think most of our audience watching are not going to like what I have to say here. But, first of all, he did visit with Junior Day with Kemon Spell and all those key juniors, even though he was just a rising junior and not a rising senior. Let's put it on a way like most of normal folks can understand, including myself. I got the Magic 8 Ball right here, right? Remember that popular toy we all played with? I would say it's either with Jayden Wade, it's either ask me again later or signs appear cloudy. I would say right now, the betting line in Vegas, if there was such a thing, would be that Jayden Wade wants to stay for all 4 years at IMG Academy. I think that would put him there at IMG for like 6 years because he's been there since the 8th grade. We know people will try. I would imagine Georgia is in his ear, kind of politely saying, yeah, go ahead and reclassify. First of all, Cody, he could play. He could reclassify. I believe his actual high school grade level would be a 2027 recruit. But Georgia has to make moves right now under the impression that Jayden Wade might not reclassify. And then I think that opens up a really good topic, a really good vein of conversation about, well, who's it going to be? Who is Georgia targeting as their 2027 quarterback if Jayden Wade is not going to reclassify?
Yeah, I think Dog fans hate to hear it, because it means he's not on campus, he's not locked in, and you got to wait a little bit longer on that. That's always uncertain, especially with a 5-star quarterback. Boy, we know that. And then you look at where Georgia has. So Georgia's got the Ryans kind of waiting in the wings, Montgomery and Puglisi right now, but they're going to want a quarterback in that 2027 class. So we start thinking about who that could be if it is not Jayden Wade, if he is in fact a 2028 commitment. So you gave me a trio of names to be looking at, Jeff, and we will start with Davin Davidson. Tell me about Davin Davidson. It's 3-star out of Sarasota, 6'6.5", 215 pounds, number 18 quarterback in the class, over 2,300 yards, 23 touchdowns in 2025. When I put on the tape of him, the thing that stuck out to me is a big old kid.
Yeah.
He is tall.
Cody, I think the common theme with most all of these 3 young men is that Georgia is coming up charging hard off the backstretch. And what I mean by that is Georgia, for the large part of last year, were operating under the fact that Jared Curtis was coming and no 2027 quarterback really worth their play sheet was going to follow a 5-star, the number 1 quarterback in the country. So there's a lot of guys. This guy, Davin Davidson, is very interesting because he's probably had the best 2 months of any quarterback prospect in America. He went down to the opening, looked great, went down to the Under Armour Orlando, looked great. He's a guy that other schools have been embedded a little bit harder than Georgia. He still needs to get out to see Georgia, really the school that has consistently recruited him the hardest would be the Florida Gators, because they were recruiting him last year under the Napier staff, and now they're recruiting him just as hard under the Summerall staff. So big guy, very accurate. Cody, you see there, he can put the ball on a line. He is a very good deliverer of the football, throws a nice, clean, tight ball. But look, here's what we're getting here, Cody. Pocket passer. He's a guy that's going to stand in there and sling it around. Not a guy that's going to give you that twitch and wiggle, even though you see him on the run here. He's a guy, if he moves, he's going to move downfield. But what I will reiterate here with Davin Davidson is he is really torched the circuit, the 7-on-7 circuit, the evaluation scouting circuit for the last two months or so, and he's really rising up the board. Cody, I would imagine that most high school recruiters and most colleges now, they look at Davin and they go, this guy's probably a high 4-star now and not a 3-star anymore.
Nah, didn't have his feet set. And you're just really on that shot. You see how tall he is.
Yeah.
6'6.5". The other part, I get so jealous of watching the palm trees in the background of all these games played down in Florida. All right, moving on from that beautiful tropical weather of Florida to a guy who calls Massachusetts home. Peter Bork is our next possibility for an option for the 2027 quarterback. 4-star to Marion, Massachusetts, 6'4", 220. He's not small either. And about equal, 18 passing touchdowns, 15 rushing touchdowns this season.
Peter's interesting. First of all, he's under about 30 inches of snow right now in Massachusetts.
No thanks.
Especially in the Worcester type area like that. They got hit pretty hard. First thing to know about Peter is Michigan decommitment. He was committed to Michigan, and he backed up because he just saw a lot of prestigious schools coming after him, and he thought he made that decision too early. And, good for him. He said it did not feel right checking out these other schools while he was on paper publicly committed to the Wolverines. So that's interesting. I like that about him right now. He's an excellent student. He's a smart kid, but Cody, he is one of those young men that said, I'm probably going to visit Georgia in early March because he needs to see it. So he's a guy that I anticipate will be visiting soon. One thing he had to tell me about Georgia, and this is one of those that makes you think a little bit longer about a prospect and his chances here, because he's about 6'4". You can see he moves a little bit better. He had the 15 touchdowns on the ground. He's in conversation with Georgia a lot, but he told me the way he looks at it, and this might be congruent with everybody watching right now on our program. He thinks that the Georgia football program is the premier football program in all of college football.
And he'd be right.
Might get some amens from everywhere from Blackshear to Baxley with that one right there. But he's a guy that is really intrigued by Georgia. He wants to see it. He wants to kind of get around Georgia and get a feel for it. And again, he has reopened his recruitment. I believe Georgia was one of the reasons why, but he has a lot of great things to say about Georgia. We'll put that down on the pages of DawgNation.com here pretty soon. But you see the way he moves. You see the way he delivers the ball. He's kind of playing in an up-tempo offense, and he's talking to Georgia a lot. And I think he's one of the names that Dog fans need to know for 2027 in that quarterback derby right now.
All right, so there's 2 names down. We're going to finish it out with Jamison Roberts, who is a third potential quarterback solution for the class of 2027. Out of Saraland, Alabama, 6'3", another big guy, 185, number 23 quarterback. I mean, the number of touchdowns is really incredible. Let me do some quick math here. 58 total touchdowns, 37 through the air, 21 rushing in 2025. They made it all the way to the state championship game, I believe. The only loss of the year happened in that one. So tell us a little more about Jamison Roberts.
Again, Cody, here's another, the narrative comes up again. Georgia gets in on him late. Jamison is an Alabama kid. He actually grew up an Alabama fan, but he turned to the dark side or the light side, depending on which way your bread is buttered in that state. He turned from an Alabama fan to an Auburn fan a few years ago. He visited Georgia for Junior Day, Cody, and he liked it. Georgia was impressed with him. They were impressed with his maturity. This is a 4.3 GPA. But he left Junior Day without an offer. That kind of always smurfs, kind of smarts a little bit. But Georgia looked at some more film, talked to some more sources. They just offered him basically within the last week. So all of a sudden I asked him, I said, okay, maybe a little late, but does this change things for you? And he said it does. He's like, he's got to open things up. He's going to give Georgia potentially an official visit, but he says, cannot not consider Georgia now, considering all the program has been over the last few years. He's already seen the facilities. He's already seen Georgia up close. But two things to watch here is Oklahoma has really prioritized him. That's a school that he keeps coming back to. Auburn went to see him a lot. Those are schools I think Georgia would be really fighting from the back of the pack to get here. But I'm going to reiterate one thing, Cody. This was in Alabama 6A football. Now, they have 7A in Alabama, so it's not the largest class. But he went for, like you said, the 37 touchdown passes, and he went for the 21 rushing touchdowns. And he did so while completing more than 70% of his passes. Wow. Cody, that is all excellent. I went back to my Alabama roots because I did spend some time in there covering the state of high school football in that state. And that total, the 37-21, the 58 total touchdowns, that's never been accomplished in that state. Wow. Except under the Class 3A level. So there's been some small school quarterbacks that have done it, but nobody has done it with the big boys quite like Jamison Roberts has. So I think Georgia now jumps into the fray with Jamison Roberts, but I think they've got some digging to do to catch up with a school like Auburn and a school like Oklahoma.
Does an offer to him at this point, a little bit later than his visit, is that the writing on the wall that Jayden Wade has maybe told Georgia? Or do we feel like Georgia might know what's going to happen there, at least, and maybe not putting it out publicly so they can be ready for this class?
Yeah, I think Jayden has really kind of made it clear that he makes it clear, especially talking to a lot of reporters, that he'd rather not reclassify. Okay. So that's one of those things you have to take him at it, and maybe things will change. He'll see development. Georgia will get in his ear, but he still is very committed to Georgia. It's just he's not committed to reclassifying. So I know most people would think the only way that they're really going to consider Jayden Wade to Georgia is if he's 2027 and he's about to sign. And now by him kind of at least having a public stance that he's not really so sold on reclassifying, Georgia's just got to do its homework and make sure they get a quarterback, because they didn't get a quarterback in the 2026 class. Sorta. They got Brandon Beavers out of the transfer portal, which is for all purposes a 2026 quarterback as well. So, Georgia's going to have some options, and I think they're just trying to create some options.
Yeah, and trying to play from behind a little bit, right? And playing catch up. Maybe you got to big time some folks out there and be, hey, we're Georgia, and just push that out there on some people so they know, okay, maybe you can pull a kid away from another school just by being Georgia, even if you don't have to throw a ton of dollars at them. All right, really good stuff right there. Great quarterback options for the class of 2027. We'll have a 2027 class breakdown, tell you who's already committed, look at some of the top targets coming up later in the show. For right now, I want to thank Kroger for being a part of Before the Hedges each and every week. Kroger Boost is the way to go if you were going to go Krogering, which is what we like to say. Kroger Boost is going to get you twice the fuel points on all those dollars you spend at Kroger. Just went on our little February break last week with the kids, and on the way out of town, we're going to fill up at Kroger because I'm going to get $1 off because we accumulate so many Kroger fuel points by using the Kroger Boost program. So you can sign up for free. Try it for 30 days. You also get the free home delivery, which there's no better feeling than opening the door and your grocery shopping's done. So you can sign up for free, krogerboost.com or kroger.com/boost. Get it, try it for 30 days. You like it, you like all those fuel points you're getting, you can sign up for real, but give it a try. Kroger.com/boost today. Well, it's a huge news here on this show. Last couple of weeks, we've been talking about Kemon Spell, the 5-star running back commit. Even Jeff was up in the frosty temperatures of Pennsylvania giving us an interview last week. Well, Spell, he did a little snowbird action and came down here to the state of Georgia, and he was in town visiting the G, just not the G we're thinking about, right?
Yeah, so it was funny. It was the Prep Red Zone Tournament. He was in playing for a team based out of New York called Cash Cow Elite. Funny, and they got, it's like their uniforms kind of look like a Ben and Jerry's carton.
Nice.
With Cash Cow Elite. But I thought this was a very, and I don't know how the best way to articulate this, a very modern story, because what I mean by that is, first of all, Kemon Spell essentially walked on water at this 7-on-7 event. What I mean by that is, first of all, he made interceptions at a safety. He caught touchdowns, probably 1 or 2 every game. He called the plays for his high school team, or his high school 7-on-7 team, with an iPad. He's telling everybody what to do. And nice. I asked him, I said, man, what's your strategy as a play caller? Maybe to get some Todd Monken out of him, maybe to get some Mike Bobo. He says, man, I just hunt matchups. I sit there and I see, where's my guy, got that guy. You see the meta glasses on him right now?
He's not nerdy. He's just wearing the meta glass.
So this is a very modern story where you see the 5-star wearing the Clark Kent AI, and he's recording his clips. He's recording his live action for there. You see him make a pick right there, kind of the very next play. Cody, he kind of turns around and catches a touchdown. Look at this one-handed George Pickens. I gotcha. And let me just make this baseline statement for a second. Folks, this is a running back. This is not his event. This is him kind of broadening his wings a little bit as a football player because what he does best is he puts on pads. He runs through guys' faces. He runs around them. He runs over them. He avoids defenders. But to see him doing all this other stuff, to see him making interceptions, seeing him catching the balls, seeing him. Look at this one right here, Cody. This is one of guys draped all over him. Of course,
the guy's like, oh, what can I can't do it. I can't do anything.
Stripes say it's good. He's celebrating. He's happy. Cody, he did about anything you would expect a 5-star to do. But also he told me, and we'll get to this later in the show, in his free time, he was talking to guys, prospects that he wants to play with at the University of Georgia. So he was not only calling plays, you see him right there with the iPad, he was recruiting for Georgia while he was in Georgia at Gainesville High School.
Yeah, Gainesville High School. All those folks who are eagle-eyed will recognize the barn they have there at Gainesville where he was working out. The part I love to hear about that, because you get a 5-star and he's going to have the physical talent. But when you talk about this is a guy who's got the iPad and he's drawing up the plays and he wants to wear the meta glasses and break things down. Kirby Smart is always talking about, I want guys who love football, right? Not guys who just are good at football. There's plenty of guys who are just good at football, but they don't love football. What that tells me, the dude holding an iPad tells me that's a kid who loves football. He's going to be committed to this game, and he's not doing it just because he's the best athlete out there.
Cody, I'm going to go ahead and say this right now because I want to, again, I don't know if these, it's not grab the flag so much as it just get in the ballpark or whatever. But dude's open almost all the time. Of course, that wasn't really great coverage there. The ball went the other way. The play went the other way. But he's a guy that catches the ball very naturally. And what I mean by that is, Cody, we've seen a lot of backs, even great backs, that kind of fight the ball. But it seems like to me, he's got stickum on those hands, or he got Velcro for tabs for his fingers, catches the ball really easily, runs routes easily. He elevates. And this is the thing that DawgNation needs to know. And they're like, okay, Kemon Spell overload. Let me get a minute.
Yeah.
Guys, this is going to be the Kemon Spell class, the way it's coming together. Let me let you in on a little secret. He is the number 1 running back in the country. He is the one that everybody's the most worried about in the class. I would make the statement as of today, February 25th, that he is the most committed guy in this class. Why do I say that? Because, he's a recent commitment. He's already had the financial talk with Georgia, at least the early parameters. But, Cody, he's not visiting anywhere else. When we pull up the top targets and we pull up the commitment board, all those guys are going to visit other schools.
Okay.
Not Kemon Spell. So this is a guy that I think he is the rising tide that's going to lift all the boats in this class because he's already working hard. He's basically going to be in Athens every weekend in June recruiting the class of guys to play with him, even when he's not on his official visit. And we got one more thing coming up there that Dog fans are going to love about how Kemon Spell is trying to put together a class of players that's going to make everybody in the Keystone State very, very envious.
Yeah, you talk about the Keystone State of Pennsylvania, of course, where Kemon Spell is from. And I go back, just the haircut in the position makes you think of great Georgia players out of Pennsylvania. Well, we're going to go DeAndre Swift, right? With the way he just looks, right? I also think a great running back, Charlie Trippi out of Pennsylvania.
There you go.
This PA to GA connection, Kemon Spell could be the key to all of this happening because he's not only going down here in the state of Georgia recruiting guys at Gainesville High School, but he's doing it up there as well, right?
Imagine how nefarious Mario Cristobal would think about this.
He'd have a joke or two, I'd imagine.
Cody, Georgia, everybody wonders every year about, hey, how many of the top 10 players in the state of Georgia is Kirby Smart going to get this year? Sometimes it's 3 or 4 or 5. Sometimes it's 1 or 2. He is angling to sign the number 1 player in the state. That would be himself. The number 4 player in the state, Khalil Taylor, who we're going to discuss at length here in a second. And then the number 10 player in the state, Jimmy Collis. Jimmy Collis, another guy that's a 6'8" offensive tackle. He wants all those guys to come play with him, and this is where the PA to GA gets a little steam coming down the track. Kemon has engineered. They're all going to take their official visits together May 29 through May 31st. And you ask all those involved, as like, folks, my reporter's instinct is like pinging right now. I said, curiosity, coincidence. No, this was planned. Those guys want to go together. They want to feel the love together all that same weekend and start thinking about, I'd really love to play with that guy after they've already thought about, I want to play with that guy in college for the last 2 or 3 years of their high school career.
Really interesting there. Usually, we're so used to seeing the quarterback be the Pied Piper and leading everybody in a class and bringing folks together. Well, we started the show today talking about they're not really a quarterback in the 2027 class to be that Pied Piper. So Kemon Spell seems to be taking over that role. And, I think of, Dante Williams or Trey Scott. They've all had their regions of where they're going to be recruiting. So Pennsylvania, don't worry about that. That's Kemon Spell's territory, right?
Everybody's thinking that. And, the one thing about Kemon that's really great here is, he's just telling them he's in their ears. He's already engaged. He's active. He's not visiting anywhere. And this is the number one running back in the country where it feels like, I know that most Georgia fans are thinking, can they hunker down and hold on and keep Kemon? Meanwhile, Kemon's like, who can I get? Who else can I get? Who can I bring in to help play with us, to help make us great again? Because he wants to win a natty in Athens. He wants his own natty.
Is it dangerous to you? Do you consider it all a little dangerous when you have a class that is wrapped around one guy? We saw that this year, but I feel like a lot of the guys who Jared Curtis was talking to and talking into coming stayed with the class anyway. So does that worry you at all that if everybody's saying I'm going because Kemon's going, and if at the last minute, which you'd say doesn't seem like it's going to happen, but putting all your chips on one guy, is that dangerous?
It's also a worry, but I think you're gonna take the win rather than the loss with that. You're gonna deal with the good and bad on that because, like, for instance, these guys have been talking to each other for years, and there's one cool story. One of the players that we're gonna get into, Jimmy Collis, his team scrimmages, McKeesport scrimmages Central Catholic every fall before the real games start playing, and they've always thought, man, if you block for me, he's going to make my job easier. And if I block for you, I'm going to make your job easier and everything else. I think it's real. I think it is very real, especially if everybody noticed on the slide. Jimmy came up to the same junior day weekend that Kemon Spell did as well. So, this guy, you want to talk about a keystone of the class? Yes. He's acting like it.
So let's dive into those guys a little bit. A couple of guys in particular. You talk about Kalis. We'll get it right, Jimmy. We promise we will get it right. But, when you talk about some of these guys, he's a big old kid, and he's got some great bloodline, right?
Yeah, I love this play right here because this is just the one play. Look, okay, he blocks his guy, right? Watch this, Cody.
Yeah, a little Dontrell Glover in him, right? Blocking too hard.
You caught the penalty, but I guarantee you he impressed more college coaches with that one clip right there than him, combo blocking this guy, sliding off this guy's hip a little bit. The thing to know about Jimmy, let's start, his given name, proper name is James, but his father, Todd, played 8 years in the NFL with the Vikings, with the Steelers. His nickname was Hewlett Packard because I guess he packed everybody in the ground or just spit guys out like a printer. In Georgia, he tells me a very good story. Jimmy told me that Kirby Smart offered him personally at a prospect showcase camp. This was at Rabun Gap, and Georgia has recruited him heartily ever since.
Look at him running those feet. Love that.
And here's another bonus. Cody, he gets to Georgia, and while most of the recruiting industry has him at 6'6" or 6'7", he gets there to Georgia with his shoes off, bare feet, and measures 6 feet 8 inches.
Ooh, okay.
And that guy is huge. He's about 295 right now, moves really well. We're going to see his name rise very prominently. I'm going to sound like Casey Kasem here and say he debuts on the top targets list very, very high. You hear what he says about Georgia. Again, this will be on the pages of DawgNation.com soon. And this NFL legacy, don't worry, dogs. His dad went and played football at Arizona State in college. So they're not one of the key contenders there for Jimmy right there. It's Georgia's in there. Penn State is in there. Georgia has gotten an official visit right there. And he's a name to know in the 2027 class. And one little vignette story I love about him, He told me he wants to do two things. He wants to follow, like he said, he plays for the name on the back of his jersey, and that's his dad's legacy, of course. But he wants to do two things in his life. He wants to do what his mom does and what his dad does. So his dad played in the NFL. He wants to check that box.
Okay.
And then when the air goes out of the football, Cody, what he wants to do is he wants to own his own business.
Nice.
Because his mom owns her own business. I believe it is a salt and gravel trucking mining company. She's an
Makes sense for Pennsylvania.
Yeah, she's an owner operator. She runs her own business. She's an entrepreneur, and he wants that for his life after football. And Cody, I gotta say, I love that when a guy's wanting to follow in mom and dad's footsteps. Meanwhile, he's 6'8" and he's just moving guys out of the picture.
Yeah, a couple of really great role models right there. All right, so we got a big man right there that Kemon Spell is trying to wrap into this class of 2027. Also, a guy a little lighter on his feet, a wide receiver that Kemon Spell is trying to bring in here too. Tell us about Khalil Taylor.
So Khalil Taylor has sick film. First of all, he's not a DB, but look at it right there. Cody, what do you think the probability of him taking this thing
Not
to the
right.
house?
He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 missed tackles, 7, and
Yeah, that guy's not getting him.
Gone.
Pick six here on his first play. Mind you, he's a receiver, Cody. That's the first play on his tape. The second play on his tape, you see it right here. I mean, literally, Cody, I'd be done as a recruiter after this. Look at this. One-handed OBJ on the run. And you start learning a little bit about him. First of all, Cody, this is a great stat. He caught 33 catches last year, right? 16 of them went for touchdowns. Pretty good batting average right
like
there.
Talon Taylor territory.
Yeah. And so then you see him kind of break through here, but that's not him. Look at this. See the guy coming up to throw that crushing block at the end?
I love it. I love that that's on the huddle tape.
Don't you feel like Kirby Smart was like, all right, we're done. Receiver that's blocking like that, playing some defense. Cody, this is a punt. He is punting, and he's dropping the ball inside the 5 with a little coffin corner action a little bit right
Shout
there.
out Tavares King, also a high school punter. And great
There you
wide
go.
receiver.
So he's got all this. Oh, and by the way, he also scored 6 touchdowns in the return game. 3 as a kickoff return man, 3 as a punt return man. He ends up with 3 interceptions. And Cody, he house calls. He picked 6 as 2 of those interceptions. So a lot to like here about Khalil Taylor. Also taking that official visit on that PA to GA weekend as well.
All right, we got a little sound from Khalil Taylor, right? Let's hear from the man himself.
Cool. I got a few more questions if you don't mind. One, what do you like? Who's in it for you? Like keeping it real. Like which schools are in it? I see you've said a bunch of OBs. Are those the ones that are in it?
Yeah. I mean, I probably. No, I ain't gonna say that. Georgia. I like Ohio State, Nebraska, Syracuse, and Penn State. That's really it for real. I mean,
What are the chances? What are the chances it's one of those schools you end up with?
Colorado. I mean, more leaning towards. I'll say Georgia and Nebraska. Like I really like those two. Like the coaching staff and the like with Georgia, it's the program, like how much they've been winning and stuff like that. Like just their background, like they just got a lot of great things going on. Nebraska, I know they have a quarterback committed, Trey Taylor. He's actually my 7-on-7 quarterback. Just bonding with him and getting to know him. I mean, I can see myself playing with him and down there as well.
Interesting to hear. He tried to give you a list of like 5. And then it kind of got real, and he's like, yeah, it's the guys in red, Nebraska or Georgia.
It was really funny. I was just saying, like, okay, I was only fishing for it's going to be one of those schools, right? It's one of those schools. There's no wild cards, or you'll decide amongst those. And, man, to his credit, a reporter's dream, he's like, I'm actually leaning toward Nebraska and Georgia right now. You noticed in both answers, Cody, he mentioned Georgia first. I think that's something to think about there as well. He hasn't been to Georgia yet, so that's going to be key. He's going to look to get down to Georgia and check out spring practice. But, again, we have to salute the efforts of young Kemon Spell here because one of the things that we asked him, and, you're great at setting up these bites, but the other topic we wanted to explore with him was, like, how hard is Kemon Spell working for you on behalf of the Dogs?
Yeah, let's hear what Taylor had to say about that.
Spell was like, dude, Gotta have Khalil. He's like, I'm on him. I'm on him. Like,
Yeah.
is he in your ear barking at you, man? Like, what's he doing to tout Georgia for you?
I mean, yeah, man, he just telling me to like just check it out and see what I think. Like he really want me to ride with him. Like he want me to be back shot and just ball together. Like the PA boys just put on for the city.
What would it be like if you and him were on the same offense together? Have you thought about
I
that?
mean, but I mean that would be electric. Like that would be like one of the best offenses ever. Like actually, like and SEC football, like just us two, and I know we're going to get other weapons as well. So like it'll be wild. Promise you.
Mm, man. And Georgia, it sounds like Georgia's prioritizing you and they're high up on their board. Like, do you feel like you're a priority to Coach Coley already?
Yeah, we chat all the time. I'm talking to Georgia like every day. Like I talk with Coach Shorney almost like every day. Like literally. Like we talk all the time. It don't even so half the time it don't even be about football. Like we like talk about playing the game and my little brother and stuff like that. Like my little brother's like really tuned into it as well. Like he be talking to Coach Shorney, like just trying to play video games and things like that. Like just trying to get to know people.
Interesting stuff. And he's Richland Township right up there. And it's not just Pennsylvania, it's like Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's Pittsburgh. The three best players in Pittsburgh. I know the University of Pitt Panthers and Penn State Nittany Lions would hate to see this, but Georgia takes the three best players in Pittsburgh in one class out of that. And, largely that's the lead dog or the ringleader, Kemon Spell, doing that. But let's rehash one thing about Khalil Taylor, because I know, listen, that film is amazing.
Yeah.
But this is the number 67 player in the country. He's about 6 feet. He's about 193 pounds. And he is already feeling this type of way about Georgia, having not stepped foot in the Classic City yet.
That tells you what Kemon Spell's selling right there.
I mean, hold on a second. We all raise your hand if you know that you like Athens a lot better once you visit there for the first time.
Your opinion ain't going down after you get on campus.
That's for sure.
So really impressive stuff right there. It would be fun to see this whole group of Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania guys all come down here together. You feel like they all come down together too. You're not feeling homesick. You're not wanting to get out of here. You got guys from up there where you're from down here all together. It would be a whole lot of fun. All right. Want to ask you right now, if you're watching on our DawgNation YouTube page, please like this video, subscribe to our DawgNation YouTube channel. So much going on this off season. And again, we're not on our normal schedule. So when things happen, like say, last Monday night, all of a sudden Kirby Smart goes on a rant and you want to be the first man to the party and you want to figure out what Kirby's saying. We had that up. Hey, we were the only ones who have it up, by the way. And you want to be the first one to know about it, subscribe to our page, get a notification, click the bell. It'll notify you when we post new videos, and you'll find out about that. You'll find out when we break in with breaking news that a 5-star commitment has committed to Georgia. You can do all that stuff on our DawgNation YouTube channel, so ask that you like and subscribe right there. All right, time for our weekly staples. We're going to break down this class of 2027, at least what is there so far, and some of those top targets the Dogs have on their radar as we take a look at the offensive commitments. There's a man we've been talking about, 5-star Kemon Spell, along with 3-star Noah Parker, the running backs, Kelsey Adams, and Aiden Starling rounding out the offensive side. Defense still looking stark. It's not going to start filling in yet, but no fear on the defensive side. It is just the one commitment on the defense, and that is a 5-star. It's a pretty good commitment, but that one not all the way there right now. So not a whole lot of locked-in commitments, but that doesn't mean much right now.
Yeah, as we said earlier in one of the Kemon Spell segments, every one of those guys, Dante Wright, perhaps, he's going to visit Oregon, he's going to visit USC, he's going to visit UCLA. Those are all on the California West Coast side. And even like Aiden Starling, a guy that professes that he's all GA all day long, he's going to visit other schools, Ole Miss, chiefly one of those. Even Jacavion Noah Parker is going to visit some schools as well, just to kind of see what's going on. And when you've got the number one guy in the class, the number one running back in the country saying, I'm not visiting anywhere. He pulled the Jordan Belfort, I ain't leaving, in one of our viral sound bites there with Kemon. I think that's got to make Georgia fans feel very encouraged about the thoughts of landing Kemon Spell.
All right, so we look at the recruiting snapshot. It's one of the slides we look at every week. It's always fun. Wouldn't it be fun to see? What if we just saw that state with the most commitments at the bottom always says Georgia. We can wrap a couple of these guys up. All of a sudden, Pennsylvania could be the state that has the most commitments. Georgia, number 8 nationally right now, again, with just the 5 commitments so far. Here's what we're really interested in at this time of year, are those top targets. We will start with 16 through 11, and one new name from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's another. I mean, again, one of the things about, I know this sounds like a broken record with Kemon, but he plays 7-on-7 with Samaj Stanford.
Well, there you go.
And Kemon is all over him. Samaj has got him in kind of his final 4 or 5 right there. And, Kemon, one of these things, there's another name, I believe, ranked number 2 on this list that he's like, I'm talking to that guy all the time. That is another 7-on-7 teammate with, I mean, folks, if he does.
These teams are so crazy now.
Folks, if Kemon Spell does half of what he says he's going to do in this class and then plays like he does on film, I mean, there are going to be a lot of number 3 jerseys that are going to be sitting inside Sanford Stadium pretty soon.
All right, so there you go. That anybody else on that list do we want to talk about on 16 through 11?
Noah Glover, always very interesting. You kind of wonder who's Georgia's primary linebacker target. I know Georgia's going really hard on the 5-star Cooper Witten, which is the son of Jason Witten, the number 1 inside backer in the country. Of course, his dad is now on the coaching staff at Oklahoma. There's the Tennessee connection with Cooper. That kind of keeps him off this board. I think Glover feels more realistic right now, and I really like Elijah Morrison now. They're at a Decula, Hebron Christian as well. And watch for Marcus Facatao. He's out of California. He's a guy 6'8", 280. Looks like one of those first-round draft picks walking already.
All right, let's move on to the next page of top targets. There's our man, Jimmy Callis and Khalil Taylor. 2 guys from Pittsburgh, PA, showing up. We're so used to, Buford, Georgia. This guy's from Douglasville. No, 2 Pittsburgh PAs on there. I love seeing it.
Yeah, Jimmy, really impressive. I enjoyed getting the chance to talk to him. He really understands ball. Like, you listen to him talk about football, and his best things about football, Cody, are combo blocks or springing his guy or blocking the guy downfield. Or he said one of his football nirvana moments is when he does his job and he pancakes his guy and he looks up and there's just a cratered defensive end there and smoke rising and everything else. And he said the best part is when I look over and see my right tackle and he's knocked his guy in the dirt as well. He's like, that's just the best feeling when the whole line together accomplishes its job in a dominating fashion. Nasty, physical, violent, and he's a big frame doing this too. Look at this kind of nasty right here. That guy did not pass rush very well or run fit very well on that next play. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, he was thinking about it. You got an NFL dad. How about NFL coach and Phil Rauscher could be bringing in that top target right there. All right, looking at those top targets again as we break it down, we'll get to 5 through 1 right here. Joshua Samapel, of course, we talk about every week. Amari Patterson, we've hit on recently. Joakim Gouda, we've hit on. But Brock Williams, you say he might be getting some calls from a Pittsburgh area code?
Yeah, the 412 guy right here. Those 2 guys are 7-on-7 teammates. Jaden Aparicio Bailey is also part of the same
Who
7.
is stopping this team?
They're also part of the same 7-on-7 outfit as well. He's also in a commitment a group chat with Amari Patterson as well. I mean, Kemon be working. And also update here, Joakim Gouda, we've kind of felt that Georgia was the team to beat for Joakim for a long time. Even back when he was a 3-star. We went and interviewed him. He was a DawgNation conversation in January.
Right.
Finally, the recruiting services have seen that junior film. Do you know that Rivals moved him all the way up to a top 40 national prospect this week? The number 1, the number 2.
They watched the show.
Yeah, they watched the show, but that is a proper eval. Look at him come right there and just run through a guy's face because that's what he does on kickoff, set the tone team right there. Also, there have been some crystal ball predictions of late from some national analysts about Joakim Gouda to commit to the G as well. So that's a guy. Georgia's in his final 5. It's getting very interesting with Joakim. Why do I say this? So he sets his top 5 about a week ago, right? Okay. And then he's got the national predictions are coming out with the crystal balls. Usually what that means is that means a guy's in the back stretch. When he's got his top 5 out there, that means, okay, now that the 5's out there, now I can focus on who I want. So it'll be very interesting. Joaquim Gouda, folks out there, you're going to guess. Guess which weekend he's going to take his official visit to the University of Georgia. Cody, do you have a guess?
You could tell me.
May 29th through May 31st.
Everybody is coming.
When Kemon Spell is going to be there as well. So, sometimes if we were CSI recruiting guy right here, we'd have our little board.
And the red string.
We'd have our strings going back and forth. That's what you're going to see here.
Here's the thing about Joaquim Gouda, which I think is so. You talk about we were up there, you were up there having the conversation with him in January. It's why you watch this show. It's why you listen to this show, because Jeff is up there telling you this dude is a dude. People are talking about him. Well, all of a sudden, a month and a half later, oh, the nation's on board. Well, Jeff was up there doing the job and telling you about it. You want to stay informed? This is why you're here.
Man, we need to cut a promo.
Just a compliment to you.
Just cutting a wrestling
promo. You don't
promo.
have to answer anything. To me, ultimately, but your boots on the ground, you're doing the job, and then everybody takes your work and says, oh, now he's good.
Cody's like Arn Anderson or Ric Flair here, cutting a TBS WCW promo right here for the show, man. I appreciate you.
I can be your hype man a little bit. As we talk about hot mic moments, we're going to wrap up the show here with a little Sentelligence. The Kirby Cristobal stuff went wild. It was interesting to hear them both talking about how they recruited Ellis, and Kirby's still worried that Cristobal is going to steal Ellis Robinson away from them. But does that gain any street cred on the trail for Kirby as that clip kind of goes around?
I think most people just realize that Kirby got to be his authentic self. Like, think about that. Most people catch Kirby on podiums, press conference Kirby, bowl press conference Kirby. You see a little bit more of his personality when he's accepting an SEC title or something like that. And he can shout out to Greg Sankey or point to the fans up in the stands. But again, I think Kirby Smart's the greatest superpower is how well he relates to people. He knows a lot of ball. He's physical. He's son of a coach, all that. But the way he can just relate to people and make them feel instantly comfortable in any social setting, there's a lot of head coaches that can't do that. There's a lot of head coaches that try and kind of fail miserably. Sometimes they just got to read the room a little bit better. But I think Kirby kind of unplugged. I think everybody liked to see that. And to me, it gives you a hint of, Nick Saban eventually got behind the mic on a big anchor set, on a big college football game day type set. I think Kirby's got a future in that as well.
Yeah, it's fun to see him break out of that shell we see on those Monday press conferences where he's so buttoned up. That real Kirby is living there inside. All right, that is going to do it for this week's episode of Before the Hedges. I appreciate Kaylee Mansell letting me fill in this week. Kaylee's back DawgNation at Large from the Combine coming up tomorrow night here on DawgNation. Appreciate you, Jeff. We'll see you next time right here on Before the Hedges, presented by Kroger.
Business education is important, trying to reach the next level. I want the best in life, I never settle. I'm a bulldog.